it's Sarah and welcome to my channel.
Alright, well, our podcast is supposed to be the continuance of the last Sherlock Holmes story, as well you know that I put the first parts of it. So, we're gonna have the rest of it in this podcast. I guess we're gonna have the part 2 and 3 in this podcast together. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what's gonna happen.
I really recommend you to listen to this podcast before bed because it's a nice story, yeah. And now we're gonna hear the last Sherlock Holmes story, part 2. Hope you have fun! Part 2, Professor Moriarty. Sherlock Holmes was busy with other cases for the next 3 weeks. There were no new murders in Whitechapel, but people were frightened and angry with the police, who were no nearer to finding the killer than before. My own life was happy enough. I visited my dear Mary Morstan and kept this visit a secret from Holmes, something which made me feel unusually clever. One day, Holmes and I had just finished breakfast together. He was standing by the window when suddenly he gave a cry. "What is it, Holmes?" I asked. "What's the matter?" He turned towards me. His face was white and the look in his eyes was terrible. "May I have an hour of your time, Watson?" he asked in a low voice. "Of course, but then get your hat and coat." He ran out of the house. I followed him quickly, and the next 2 hours passed in a wild chase all over London. We jumped into a cab, out of it again and onto a train, ran down narrow streets, and in and out of a big hotel. Finally, we came to rest in peace of a London park. "You are a true friend, Watson," Holmes said at last. "You came with me without a question. Did you realize that someone was following us?" "I thought so. But who? Can you not guess?" "No." "He calls himself Jack the Ripper." "Holmes!" For a moment, I found it difficult to speak. Then I asked, "Did you see him through the window? Where was he?" "In the empty house opposite ours. He was watching our rooms, Watson. He knows that I'm looking for him. We must be very careful. He is one of the most dangerous criminals in Europe." "But who is he?" I cried. "Have you ever heard of Professor Moriarty?" "Never. That is the strangest and the most terrible thing about him." Holmes laughed angrily. "He is everywhere, but nobody knows him, like his crimes. He is fantastic." I listened in silence as Holmes told me about Moriarty. He is an extraordinarily intelligent man. At the age of 21, he was a professor of mathematics. For years, he was one of the most important men in the world of mathematics. Then, he disappeared from university life. Soon after that, I began to realize that crime in London was changing. Someone was telling criminals, who are usually stupid and untrusting little men, what to do. They were obeying the orders of a mastermind. It could only be Moriarty, but I could never catch him. I hate his crimes, but I recognize his intelligence. He is the only criminal who interests me, because he is the only criminal who is as intelligent as I am. Then, in August, everything changed. Criminals became stupid again. In the middle of all his success, Moriarty had disappeared. Why? "Holmes," I cried, "the reason is clear. The Whitechapel murders begin in August. It must be—" "No, Watson, no," Holmes said, It is not clear. Someone like Moriarty does not break locks and climb through the windows himself. He gave orders to others. He was the commander-in-chief of the criminal ward, not a foot soldier. Then why? How? Success is too easy for him. He needs change and danger as others need drugs. He was the best at mathematics, then the best at crime. Now he has chosen murder. Do you mean he kills just to amuse himself? I asked. Yes, he enjoys the danger, but there is another reason. He wishes for a battle with me, the most successful criminal against the most successful detective. It will be a fight to the death. Then this woman that he kills, they mean nothing for him. He just uses them because they're necessary for his plan. His plan? Yes. I've said that he kills because he's bored and because he wishes for a battle to the death with me. There's a third reason, actually. He wishes to destroy the world we know. He is mad. No, he is not mad. He is evil itself. He wants to bring fear into our lives, to make everyone in London afraid to go out at night, afraid to every sound and shadow. London will become a city of strangers, seeing danger in every neighbor. How can people live like that? He was silent for a moment. Then he said, I alone can stop him, and stop him I shall. Several days later, Inspector Lestrade called to see us again. Are you ready to arrest the Whitechapel killer yet? Holmes asked him. We are continuing to make all possible. Enough, Lestrade. Have you caught him yet? In a difficult case like this, yes or no? No, Lestrade said. But we hope, of course we hope. We must always hope, but the people of London will not wait forever for the police to arrest Jack the Ripper. Do you think you can enjoy life as a policeman in Canada, Lestrade? Lestrade tried to smile. He said, I believe we shall only catch him if we have the luck to find him while he is actually murdering some poor woman. He looked surprised when Holmes said, That is the first sensible thing I have had any policeman say about these murders. We must catch him red-handed. A drink, Inspector? Yes, please, Mr. Holmes. But who can say when or where he will kill again? I can, Holmes said coolly. Let's look at the dates of the murders. He kills, waits a week, kills again, and waits 3 weeks before the next murder. This changes only when he has, as he tells us, no time to rip, and has to kill twice on the same night. The following week there is no murder. I tell you, Lestrade, this is no crazy killer. This is a man who is following a plan. He works only in Whitechapel, and in the early hours of the morning. Lestrade looked helplessly at him. What shall we do? He asked. Holmes jumped to his feet. I think he will try to kill again on Monday night. The first murders were on Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. He moves a day forward each time. We must close our Whitechapel like a box which he cannot escape from. We shall need every policeman you have. Lestrade looked worried. I'll do what I can, Mr. Holmes, but I don't know if my chief will like it. Your chief, Holmes said, will give you all the men you need. I'm sure that you will be interested to learn that your chief has asked me to do anything I can to catch this killer. I'm free to give you orders, Lestrade, and you are free to obey me. When Lestrade had gone, Holmes said, Now I need a bath, my dinner, and a good sleep. Moriarty wishes to destroy me. He has already, my dear Watson, tried 3 times to kill me. He is a terrible enemy, and I must get ready for the battle. I stared at him in horror and decided that I would never leave my friend's side while he was in this danger. Part 3. Jack the Ripper kills again. On Monday night, Whitechapel was full of policemen, all ready to catch Jack the Ripper. Nothing happened. Only Lestrade enjoyed this. "You are foul, Mr. Holmes," he said. "Your idea was very clever, but you made one mistake. You forgot to tell the murderer about it." Holmes and I took a cab back to Baker Street. We were both too tired to talk then. But later, that day I said, "Holmes, what did happen? What went wrong?" We did not really fail. Moriarty could not kill anyone because we were there. But I badly wanted to catch him at his work. And there I fell. He was there then? He was there. He saw what I had done and realized that he could not kill a woman that night. "Then you did not fail. We have beaten him." Holmes shook his head slowly. "No, Watson. We have not beaten him yet. Think how angry he must be. I have stopped him once, and now he will try harder to kill me. He will go on with his planned murders, and he will do everything possible to make sure that he succeeds." "But Holmes, how do we remember?" "He kills, waits a week, kills again, and then waits 3 weeks. So, he will kill again next weekend. I must talk to Lestrade. But tonight, Watson, we shall amuse ourselves at the theater." He would say no more, but that night, while we were at the theater, he disappeared from my side without a word. I did not even see him leave, and for several days I neither saw him or heard from him. Then, at dinner time, on the night that we had hoped to catch Jack the Ripper at his work, he suddenly appeared again in Baker Street. "Holmes!" I cried. "Where have you been?" "Don't worry, old flu." He sat down by the fire. "I have been keeping Moriarty busy and playing games with him. He has chased me all over the country, but, as you see, I'm still alive. I shall tell you my adventures some other time. Lestrade will be here in a minute to discuss tonight's plan." When Lestrade arrived, he did not seem at all pleased to see us. "So, another of your clever little plans, Mr. Holmes," he said coldly. "Do you really think we shall see the killer tonight?" "He will be at work tonight," Holmes replied. "The only question is, shall we be ready for him? I suppose you have done everything that I ordered you to do." "We are ready for him." "Then let us go. We must not keep Jack the Ripper waiting." It was a cold, windy night, and we were grateful for our thick coats as we sat in the cab. It took us to the big police station in Commercial Street. Hundreds of policemen were waiting there to begin the night's work. Holmes and I sat down to wait too. After some time, I said to Holmes, "This waiting is terrible. I wish we could do something." "We can," he replied, "when a crime is reported. Until then, we can only wait. The murderer could be anywhere out there." Holmes picked up a piece of paper and a pencil. "He could, but I think I know where he is. Look at this." This is what he showed me. The letters E, S, C, and N are Eddowes, Stride, Chapman, and Nichol. The last 4 women he has murdered. Holmes said, "The diagram shows a place where each died. And X, I suppose, is some unknown woman, the one that he plans to kill tonight." I said, "But how do you know where to put the X on your diagram?" "Look again, Watson." Holmes said with a smile. Suddenly, I understood. It is a letter M. Yes, Watson. M for Meta, and for Moriarty. Holmes! Do you mean to say yes? He is writing his name in blood upon the face of Whitechapel. And as you see, I know where he will try to kill tonight, and where I shall go to meet him. Not without me, I said. I must come with you. We left the police station just before midnight. For the first time, I walked through the narrow streets of East London, the streets that I had seen before only through the window of a cab. People think that murders happen in dark, empty streets. That is not always true. A strange and horrible fact about the streets where Jack the Ripper murdered a woman is that they were busier and better lit than most other London streets. They were full of pubs and cheap hotels. At all hours, the streets were full of people who were too poor to find a bed anywhere, drunks looking for a bar that never closed, and all kinds of criminals. Finally, there were the women. Those women who work only at night, when their more honest sisters are asleep. I studied medicine in London, and while I was a student, I saw something of the low life of our capital. I was, after all, a healthy young man, and young men must amuse themselves. But I had never seen women like this. Holmes stopped several to question and to warm them, and I looked at their faces carefully. They were all at the age of 20, dirty, diseased, and hopeless. One thing was clear to me. They were not like other women. Does it matter, I began to think, if Jack the Ripper kills a woman like this? Death by his knife is quick. It cannot be worse than the slow and painful death from disease, which most often ends their short lives. We returned to the police station after 1 o'clock. I was tired and sick at heart. Lestrade did not stop talking, telling us that we should catch no murderers that night. Suddenly, Holmes jumped up and walked out into the street. I followed him. "Stay inside, Watson," he said. "You are tired, dear fellow, and you cannot help me." "I'm coming with you," I said. "Nothing will stop me." "Come, then, but we must hurry. Moriarty is near. I can feel it." It began to rain. He walked fast, and I almost had to run to keep up with him. His eyes moved restlessly from side to side. Suddenly, he stopped and stared into the darkness. "Twice, Watson," he said softly. "He will kill twice tonight. We stopped him killing a woman last time, so he must kill 2 tonight." Before I could answer, he was moving again. Then he stopped and pulled me into a dark corner. Someone was coming toward us. Holmes spoke in a low voice, but I shook with fear at his words. "It is Moriarty." A man passed our corner and disappeared into another street. I could not see his face. "Run to the police station and fetch Lestrade. He knows what to do," Holmes said. "I shall follow Moriarty. Hurry, man, hurry!" Then he was gone. I cannot explain why I did not do what I was told. The fact is, instead of going to the police station, I followed Holmes. Perhaps I was afraid that my friend could not fight Moriarty on his own. I ran to the corner of the street. I could just see Moriarty walking straight on. Then, to my great surprise, Holmes turned left and disappeared into a house, while Moriarty reached the end of the street and turned the corner. I could not understand what was happening, or what I should do next. What if Holmes, realizing that someone was following him, thought I was one of the Moriarty's men? Some minutes later, I was still wondering what to do when I heard the door close. a man came out into the street. It was Holmes. He was now richly dressed, in a hat and a long dark coat. He had changed his appearance in several small, clever ways, but I knew him. I wanted to call him, but was afraid he would not be pleased. Instead, I decided to follow secretly, ready to help him if he needed me. We walked and walked. The rain became heavier, and the streets emptied of people. Then a short fat man passed me, and soon afterwards a girl. She looked like a woman of the streets, but younger and prettier than most I had seen that night. She seemed a little drunk and could not walk straight. As she came near to Holmes, he stopped and spoke to her. They both laughed. Further along the street, I saw the short fat man, now standing outside a pub, watching them. Then Holmes and the girl walked off together, and a few seconds later, the man followed them. How I feared for Holmes' safety. I was sure that the man and the girl were working for morality. They had some plan, I knew, to hurt my friend. Perhaps only I could save him. Holmes and the girl walked on. The man followed them, and I followed all three. At last, Holmes and the girl stopped at the entrance to the yard. I heard the woman's voice. I could not hear Holmes' words. But to my surprise, I clearly saw him kiss her face. Then they entered the yard, and the fat man crossed the street and went into a house further along. Had he gone to fetch Moriarty, who would now appear and kill my friend? Slowly and carefully, I made my way into the yard. It was dark, but I could still light a window. Then I heard Holmes' voice. He was in that room. As quietly as I could, I went to the window. The curtains were a little too short, and I could just see into the room. The woman was lying in the bed, drinking from a bottle. Holmes sat with his back to the window, taking snuff from a little silver box. He seemed to be in no danger, but who could say when Moriarty would arrive? It was cold and wet in the yard, but I felt calm again. If Moriarty came, I was ready to save my friend. I sat down with my back to the wall to wait. I'm ashamed to say what happened next, but I must say it. I fell asleep. I was asleep for 2 hours. As I woke up, cold and uncomfortable Holmes' voice came back to me. He will kill twice tonight. I ran to the window, afraid of what I should see. At first, I could not understand what terrible thing had happened there. Was it possible? I wondered. For a person to explode? There was blood everywhere. Then I recognized the body as the woman who I had seen drinking and talking with Sherlock Holmes. He was still with her, but he was not dead. No, much worse than dead. He was alive. He had a knife in his hand, and he was cutting up her face and her body. Even as I watched, he was carefully cutting the leg down to the bone, taking off a long piece of meat in his other hand. And as he cut the woman to pieces, he was singing. Alright, that was it. I hope you guys like it and enjoy it. It was the end of part 2 and 3. And I'm gonna upload 2 more parts. Part 4 and 5. Maybe next week. Yeah, I think next week. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see if I upload it next week or not. But I'm not gonna promise. You don't have my word now. Anyway, what do you think? Is Sherlock Holmes the murderer? Is he Jack the Ripper? Can he be Jack the Ripper? I mean, I don't know. What do you think? He's a detective and now we found out the shocking secret that it might be him. Guess it in the comments. Love you all and to the next podcast. Bye bye!